Hi, I'm Christina Jamison and I'm from the School of Home Ownership. This is where we educate and empower people to make the right property decision and to be part of the great Australian dream. I'll be speaking about the fastest and highest interest rate hike we've seen in decades and what you can do about it. We've seen people come off their fixed interest rates of less than 2% and entering a market where interest rates are 5 or even 6%. In the next 6 months, we will see an enormous amount of people coming into this stressful period in terms of finances. I've recently seen a letter from a real estate agent, and I guess it's scaremongering, telling people to sell their property now because in 6 months' time, people could be just selling their property quickly because they can't afford their interest rates. Just to give you some context, we've came through a COVID pandemic where prices did get smashed in some city areas and where properties in country towns were dramatically increased, some doubling in value. This is quite extraordinary, and I've never seen property prices affected that much. Even in Sydney, in some areas we couldn't even rent our property. So that gives you an idea of how a drastic property, was affected, and it was for a very short period of time. I don't see that happening too often. What we have is two different types of property owners. Ones are investors. With the investor, what we found is that if they don't have enough buffer, they could just sell their property. Initially, what a lot of investors do, when interest rates go up, the rent also increases. But with such a high and continuous rate increases over the last year, we found that rental properties weren't catching up. So the increase in rental properties were a bit slower in comparison to the interest rates. Interest rates were going up by 1/4% and 0.5% every month, month after month, whereas rental properties don't usually increase the values until 6 months or every 60 days. You need to give 60 days notice usually to increase the rent. So that's where there was a conflict. But if you're an investor, a lot of people don't think it's worthwhile sacrificing their lifestyle for an investment property. It's usually to create further wealth. So most people will sell it, especially those that just bought with the low interest rate, where you're talking about less than 2%, and they had like 95% loan to value ratio. It will get to the point where it's not worth it for them, and people have sold. The second lot of people are the owner-occupiers. You and I, the most common. And I've had people, that have come from a 1.98% fixed rate, and they're now entering 5 and 6% interest rate market. As he was explaining to me, he said that his payments are increasing by $1,000 a month. He told me that he's not saving $12,000 a year. So where is he going to find the money to be able to do it? So what can an owner-occupier do? I think there's 3 things that we can work on. The first, we have no choice but to manage our expenditure, manage our money. The most common thing that people spend money on, second to your mortgage or your rent, is going out and entertainment. So that's a key thing to sort of look at. You can actually contact me and get a budget template if you don't, to actually sort your money issues out. The second one is to manage as best you can your home loan. So that's usually refinance. Now, a lot of people have just had a change of circumstance. They've had an extra child during COVID, or with interest rates being high, they actually won't be able to refinance. They won't be approved for the same serviceability. So I've been working with a lot of customers to actually negotiate with your current lender. I'm not a real big fan of churning just for the sake of churning, and in some circumstances, and I found a lot of people, you really need to be negotiating with your current lender because the fact is you probably may not be able to refinance. If you can, and there's some great deals, because banks are competing for people at this point in time because no one's buying and selling, definitely look at refinancing and getting the best deal and managing your money that way. The third is trying to get extra income. So some people have actually, this is the time where they do a bit of spring cleaning and sell a lot of their stuff. And other people I've seen actually renting a room in their home to be able to make extra income. Some people are doing second jobs like mowing lawns. So that's just an idea. But we do need to be able to help people get their finances under control because now it's sort of hitting crunch time. So if you need any assistance, please feel free to contact me and I'll be able to help you.